Beacon Payments webinar. Beacon Payments, your business solution. Today, we'll be discussing effective rate pricing, the pricing for industries, how to price an account, quote client, and close on the deal. Effective pricing is a tool that you can use that gives a customer a quote on the fly. It doesn't put things into an overly complicated proposal, set, close format. Instead, it gives them an overview, a rough outline on what they should be paying, simplifies the process, and therefore make close faster. Essentially what you're doing is you're going to give the customer an average of what the expected price for their processing will be. These averages aren't just pulled from the sky. They're based on industry averages from current accounts. It creates a hassle-free instant quote. You get good at effective rate pricing, you essentially can become an expert and lend yourself more credibility in the field immediately. Common pricing for industries that we see. A large ticket or retail, a large ticket being anything from jewelry to car sales, and retail being anything from a clothing boutique to a liquor store. Range from 2 to 2.5% overall. Example of that is every $10,000 that you run is $200. On the flip side of that, any $10,000 that you run that you put at 2.2%, for example, would be $220. The examples there are the math for how to figure out what the effective rate should be. When you quote a higher effective rate, you're in essence charging them more profit for yourself. So don't go in every single client and say, I can get you 2%. I can get you 2% as a race to the bottom. Don't give away for 2 what the client is happy to pay 2.5 for. Now, if you're working on a small ticket, convenience store, quick serve restaurant, pizza shop, something to that, deli, you're going to deal with a higher average ticket. It might not make sense to a lot of you. Go, well, the cost less, how would they pay more? When you start getting into effective rate pricing, the rule of thumb is the smaller the transaction, the higher the percentage. So a small ticket quick serve restaurant or convenience rate ranges from around 3 to 4% overall. Okay, someone like a Starbucks would have more of a 4 to 5% effective rate because their average ticket for a coffee would be between $3 and $5. All right, so how to do the percentage and math on this. For every $10,000 that you run for a small ticket or convenience store, you should be paying around $300, 3%. The smaller ticket, again, higher percentage. If you're dealing with a coffee shop or a deli, don't immediately go to 3%. You want to keep yourself safe. You don't ever want to quote somebody an effective rate and then have to go back a month later and say, we were a little more expensive than we thought. Keep yourself safe. Stay above 3.5%. The price of the account. An account first as you get in the door. You explain there's been an update to pricing. And the best way to check to see if the account has the updated pricing is to take a look at last month's statement. Last month's statement is going to give you all the information you need to run an effective pricing rate quote. You have 2 options at this point. When you pull the statement, you can either send it into the office for analysis, which we will happily put line by line together, or you can give them an overall rate. My suggestion is give them the effective rate first, see if that's enough to close them. If it's enough information to close them, don't oversell the product. Close them at that number, the account. The way you find the effective rate is you locate the amount the account was charged for cards for that month. The fees. You should see somewhere in the top right-hand corner of the statement or the very last page of the statement a total fees charged. Locate the amount that the account accepted and submitted, the amount of credit cards they processed. Again, if it's on the front page, it should be on the middle left-hand page or on a page 2, a summary. Use the back of a statement as your template. Write these things down. Call manager. Make sure that you have it correct. You figure out the effective rate is you take the amount the account was charged and you divide it by the amount that was submitted. And take the fees, divide it by the amount they processed. You take the dollar amount charged, you divide it by the dollar amount submitted, you will get the current effective rate. For example, if you find that they're charged $320 for last month and says $10,000, your effective rate is 3.2%. If you're dealing with a large ticket or retail, based on our previous slide, you know that you can charge them between 2 to 2.5% and be within the range of properly quoting them. So if this is me and they're running $10,000 and they paid $320 last month, I know that they're paying 3.2%. I'm going to offer 2.5. Good news, Mr. Customer. We're able to find you $70 savings right off the bat. You should pay right around $250 instead of the $320, or 2.5% instead of the 3.20. If we're started to get that savings back in your pocket. All right. If the temperature gauge doesn't jump, then maybe you do a full quote, but this is a way to alleviate that extra step. Here's an example. A very common processing statement. This is one of the most common template of statement that you will see. And you can see if you can figure out the effective rate. Time's up. If you're up with 0.04166 on your calculator, then you are correct. You do that is you take the effective rate, which is $1,998.09. You divide it by the amount they processed, $47,950.78. You have an effective rate of 4.17%. If you can say 0.04166, how do you come out with 4.17? Remember your basic arithmetic. All right, your percentage. If you want to get the actual percentage, you have to multiply that 0.04166 by 100. That gets your percentage. All of your math is going to look like 0.04166 or 0.0325, 0.025. And that's how you do it mathematically to figure out the dollar amount. But when you're talking in percentages, you have to multiply it out. If you're unclear on this, talk with your manager. I'll go back to the previous slide for just a second so you can see where the fees charged and the fees submitted. The first is pretty straightforward. Page 1, charge, $1998.09. Amount submitted, same, $47,957.78. Those 0.04166 rounded up, 4.7%. All right, knowing what I know, this is how I would close this. The numbers that came up with 4.17%, which is way too high for your business. They simply haven't updated your pricing for you. The good news is you should have paid $11.99 or $11.98. It gives you almost $800 last month alone. I'm going to get the approval started on this and get you where you should be. How do you figure out the math on the $11.98? My math right beneath me, right beneath that. 47,957.78 times again 0.025, 2.5%, 11,894. Okay. Note that last line in there. That is a very strong closing line that gets you the answer that you're looking for with, again, not overcomplicating the process, not scaring the client out of commitment. We're not switching you over yet. We're getting the approval started on this. All right. In essence, they're signing the paperwork to get the ball rolling on switching over. They don't officially switch over until you install or reprogram their equipment. This is simply to make sure that we can do business together. All right, so again, at full speed, so the numbers, it came up with 4.17%, which is way too high for your business. Simply haven't updated you. The good news is that you should have paid $11.98 last month, which would have saved you $800 last month alone. About times 12, that's your yearly savings. I'm going to get the approval started on this and get you where you should be. What's the legal name of the business? This is an assumptive close that gives the client enough information to feel confident that you are an expert in what you're doing without overcomplicating the process. To the clients and shown them the monthly savings, you have reached your height of impulse. Note your keywords back in your training manual. The height of impulse is when the client is most excited about making the change. All right. Everything after the height of impulse starts to decline. All right. Very difficult to sign someone up after you've reached the height of impulse. Use the scripted line on the previous slide and begin filling out the paperwork. Again, you're only seeking approval at this point. Buying signs. When you start explaining to the customer, you're paying 4.17%, which is way too high for your business. Watch their facial expression. If they raise their eyebrows in shock or their face in disgust, that's a buying sign. The customer is ready to turn over. It's up to you to give them a strong closing line to let them know that while this is shocking, while that rate is disgusting, you can help them out. Speak with your manager. Again, remember, the rule of sales is ABC, always be closing.